type into the chat anytime. Let me know that you're here. Let me know what your thoughts are, but I will go ahead and get started. Thank you for jumping on Woke Wednesday with me today. And so go ahead and close your eyes. I always wonder if people actually close their eyes when I tell them to. Close your eyes. And I want you to think of a time that you failed. It could be something big. It could be something small, although I think that's playing it safe. But think about a time that you failed at something. And as you're thinking about that, I want you to notice whether there are emotions that come up with that. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's sadness, maybe it's frustration. So think about, hey, AA Ron, I haven't seen you in forever. You know, you messed my neck up, dude. I'm waiting for my injections again. So I'm messing with you, Aaron. But think about that time that you failed. Think about what those are emotions that come up with when you think about that failure. Maybe it's embarrassment. And also think about, I don't know, maybe this might bring up that maybe there were some other things going on at the time. It might have been like a snowball effect where it was just one thing after another. It might have been things were really great, but one bad thing happened. One thing happened that you failed at. So think about that failure. And once you've got that in your mind and you've kind of settled in with that feeling that you might be tapping into, tap in. Then that was a horrible song for that. Now I want you to open your eyes and I want to ask you a question. So think back to when you were learning to walk. Everybody remember that when you were learning to walk? Did you fall? I'm waiting for the answers to start rolling in. Yes, you fell. Yes, you fell. Sorry. Yes, you fell. We all fell without being able to remember back to when we were somewhere between 6 months and a year old. We know for a fact that when we were learning to walk, we fell, right? We knew that, but we got up and we kept trying over and over again. Right? We looked, thank you, Aaron. We looked and we were like, hey, if they can do this, I can do this too, right? So we just kept trying. Now, also, when you fell, did your parents, and maybe you won't remember this part, so if you have your own kids, you can think of this too, because we all watched our kids fall when they were learning to walk too. But did your parents say to you, oh, honey, let's not try that again. Why don't you just go ahead and sit down? Clearly, you're not a walker. No, they told you get back up, right? So today we want to talk about failure and how it's part of the process. So as we get older, when we're young, you know, we push the envelope. We don't have any kind of fear of it. We're just like, you can do this, I'm going to do it too. And we just keep going. Some of you might have scars or broken bones that happened as a result of that. But you know, as we get older, failure becomes this terrible thing. And it becomes associated with like, there must be something wrong with you. So if you fail a test, you must be stupid, right? Guess what? Albert Einstein, who is arguably one of the most probably like intelligent people that we have ever heard of, said failure is success in progress. Failure is success in progress. So here's this most intelligent person, and he recognizes that failure is just a part of success, right? It's actually progress, because we've all seen this too. We've seen people that it looks like they became an overnight success, right? You're like, oh my gosh, where did they come from? All of a sudden you're hearing these names. And what you don't see is everything that led up to that. And we'll talk about some of those examples. If you don't win every single game, maybe if you're an athlete, you can relate to this. If you don't win every single game, every single race, you must suck, right? This is when my daughter was challenged with when she was younger and played basketball. It was like, if they didn't win all the games, she was like, oh, we suck. And I was like, no, where do you get that idea from? So Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is one of the best-selling financial advice books out there, and he is, as far as entrepreneurship and financial advice, man, he is really successful in that area. And he said, losers quit when they fail. Winners fail until they succeed. Right? So I think that's another amazing example we get of somebody who's super uber successful, who's telling us, just keep failing. It's okay. Right? Maybe you try something new and you're not great at it when you first try it. So what happens as adults, a lot of times we stop. So I'll just tell my own story. I love to sing and I have a pretty good voice, but I got freaked out as a kid. So I was not the kid that was a daredevil, but I got freaked out by experience I had as a kid. So I remember one time in my adult life, I was probably maybe 24 or so, and I went to go sing karaoke with some friends, and I wasn't intending to sing, and my friend Nikita, she was like, girl, come on, we got to sing. And I got up there and it was the most embarrassing experience. And I was like, that was terrible. And I've never done it again. Right? That's what most of us adults tend to do. We sit here and we go, okay, never mind. It didn't go right. I'm not great at it. So I'm not going to do it again. Well, so Thomas Edison, again, another brilliant mind, right? Gave us the light bulb. Hello. Thomas Edison said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that do not work. 10,000, right? How many of us are willing to go back to the drawing board over and over and over and over again, 10,000 times until we get it? And here's the thing. Remember, I brought up how sometimes our parents, hi, Amanda, sometimes our parents, when we're kids and we're like, we fall down when we walk, our parents are like, hey, honey, get back up. You can do it. You know, when we're trying to learn how to ride our bike, they're cheering us on and they're like, honey, you can do it. Right? And then somewhere along the line, sometimes it's the people that we feel like should be our biggest cheerleaders, our biggest supporters. Sometimes that is our family members, our parents, our closest friends, stuff like that, that they look at us and they say, no, you probably shouldn't try that. Like, you should just go ahead and quit now. Right? Yeah, I tried it once and it didn't work for me. So it's not going to work for you either. Right? And what I'm going to say about that is you don't need that kind of negativity in your life. Now, I'm not saying you have to kick them all the way out of your life, but you can very nicely, you know how they have that thing, you could tell somebody, like certain people know how to tell someone to go to hell, but they say it in a way that the person wants to enjoy the trip. So you could easily tell them something and say, well, thank you so much. If I need your opinion or your advice, I'll be sure to ask you, right? Like, I didn't ask. So why are you offering this information to me? Zip it, right? Zip it. So we want to think about that. I just noticed now I've said a few times, so I've got to stop that. So I want you to close your eyes again. And we've all heard this said to us before. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? I want you to get something in your mind right now. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? That might be something really big. It might be something really small. Like, I'm going to go sing karaoke and knock people's socks off. I don't know. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? See, a failure is a part of the process. We absolutely have to go through failure in order to get to our success. Brene Brown, she's one of my very favorite people. She does a lot of talks on TED Talks about vulnerability and all of these types of things. And she said, daring is saying, I know I will eventually fail, but I'm all in anyways. But I'm still all in. So I want you to think about that. I know I've dared you guys a couple times to jump on my Zooms with you, and nobody's still jumping on my Zooms with me, but that's okay. I'll do it 10,000 times. At some point, you're going to jump on my Zoom with me because I'm daring you, right? No, I'm just messing with you. But I am, but I'm not. So failure is a part of the process. Failure is there. We are supposed to learn something from failure. So just like Thomas Edison said, I just found 10,000 ways that it doesn't work. Right? Process of elimination, kind of, if you think about it. I love it when I'm teaching. I have to teach at work. I have to teach a basic computer class. That can sometimes be rough. And so when I'm teaching people like using the mouse, single click, double click, I'll show them like this is a double click, this is a single click. And sometimes people say, how do I know if I'm supposed to single click or double click? I said, try single click. And if it doesn't work, then double click. There you go, right? It's that simple. So failure is a part of the process. It's there to teach us a lesson. It's sometimes there to humble us so that when we get to the top, when we reach that success, we haven't had this like golden path that we took that was just so easy that we can't relate to other people, right? We might, there it went again. Ooh, that failure is also there to, help us really to help us like process, to help us create a process, to help us. I almost said it again. Woohoo! I'm on one today. Sorry, like I said, it's been a little bit. There's been some emotion today on the senior picture thing, but yeah. So failure is there. It's a purposeful part of the process, and we just can't give up. We know, we've all heard the stories, and you can, oh, there's an actual bug on my computer screen. So we've all heard stories, and we can all talk about, you can Google it. Maybe I'll share the link on my page later, but of people that we know well, right? I would say celebrities, but not all of them I would consider celebrities, but people that we know of very well that have these amazing stories of all the failures that they had. So Michael Jordan being one of them, right? When he was basically cut from his high school basketball team, yeah, he went and locked himself in his room for a little bit. But then what happened is it pushed him. So failure can either cause us to become paralyzed, or it can push us to keep trying, to work harder, to find a new way, whatever the case may be. So we know that he went out, and for the next year, he trained and trained and trained. He was out at the basketball hoop every night, shooting, all this stuff. And look at what the world would have missed out on had he just given up. How many of us are doing that when we give up on ourselves because we failed? When we fail, we need to remember to look at it just like we did when we were little babies and we were looking at our parents and the other grown-ups around us, our siblings, and going, if you can walk, I can do it too. Why don't we have that same attitude now? We often are doing something that's not brand new. Other people have gone before us and created this type of success or whatever we're trying to do. So if they can do it, why can't you do it too? It doesn't mean that your path is going to be the exact same as theirs, but if they can do it, you can do it too. And maybe you're doing something completely new. Like, please, if someone can find the vaccine, create the vaccine for COVID so we don't have to wear these masks around anymore, it would be great. No, but seriously, all of these different things, people are trying to find cures for cancer and all of these things these are like honorable things. And nobody's been able to do it yet, but people keep trying. And here's the thing, just like when Roger Bannister broke the record made the 4-minute mile, right? Before that, scientists were saying it's physically impossible for a human being to do that. Like, they would croak, they would die, right? They would go into some kind of shock and they wouldn't survive that. And then Roger Bannister did it. He was like, I'm going to keep trying. And he did it. And it forged the way because then all these other people came behind him and did it too. Imagine what that would feel like to know that you forged a new path where people were able to come behind you and be just as awesome, if not more awesome. I don't know about you guys, but that idea lights me up. When I look at the things that I'm trying to do with my life, I look at it and I go, man, if I can change the way that other people see failure, if I can change the way that people live their lives, if I can show my daughter that there's another way and then she can show the generations after her, I'm all about that, because that sounds like such an amazing legacy to leave behind, not just for me, but for generations to come. If it's something that you want, if it's something that you have like in your heart, you know that it's supposed to happen. I've shared this with you guys before, that in my, probably started in my 30s. I started having these times when I would be talking to God and I was like, don't you have more for me? And the answer was always yes. I have to go get it, right? So I know that quitting is not an option because I know what's in front of me. So I know that quitting is not an option. So I have to accept failure. And not only do I have to accept it, I need to learn to embrace it. I need to learn how to get those lessons from it. I need to learn how to become stronger through that. Now, the CEO of IBM, he said, if you want to succeed, double your failure rate. Right? So a lot of us even, and guys, when I talk about this stuff, I'm including myself in this. That's why a lot of times I'll say us, because that includes me. So a lot of us, what we do is we might fail at something, so we pump the brakes. Now we haven't quit, but we've pumped the brakes. And then a little bit later, we get back into it. And then we hit failure again. So we pump the brakes. And what the CEO of IBM is saying is go faster. Go towards that failure faster. Because the faster you get to the failure, the faster you find those 10,000 ways that won't work, the faster you're going to get to finding the one way that will work. So I want to leave you with this quote. I've been doing this challenge, and one of the facilitators of this challenge, he said this, and it hit me big time. So while I already had failure as part of the process in my notebook of ideas for Woke Wednesdays, this is what got me to this today. He said, if you're going to let fear of failure stop you, you are choosing to not live your life. Let that really sink in. If you are going to let the fear of failure stop you, you are choosing to not live life. Life has things in store for us. Whoever you may believe in, God has things in store for us. But there is failure along that path. So if we get stopped by failure, it's us sitting back choosing. So for anyone who's still asking, God, isn't there more for me? And you're not working on that, understand that that's you choosing to sit back, waiting for someone else to put something in your lap. And it doesn't happen that way. So understand that failure is part of the process. Let me see if I can go through some of these comments, see if I've gotten anything. Friend said, nah, kick them out. When I said you don't have to kick those people out of your life, just politely tell them they can take their opinion and shove it. And Aaron said, no, kick them out. Kick them out, kick them out. Dare them. Yes, Amanda. Yes, I dare you all. I keep doing that. Nobody's up to the dare. I'm starting to think that everybody's afraid. MJ, my fave. Yeah, me too, Amanda. Imagine that. Look at that. My daughter's name is Jordan even. Hi, Tony. I see all teeth. Yes, of course you do, Tony. That's my smile. It's all teeth, right? All right. Well, thank you all for jumping on so much. I hope that this message did something for you. Let that really sink in. That last quote to me is something that when I heard that, it just like, if I wouldn't have already been sitting down listening to it, it would have put me on my butt right there. If you're going to let failure stop you, you're choosing to not live your life. Think about that. And a lot of times we think about things way easier in terms of our children. So for those of us who have kids, we have talked our kids through plenty of failures, and we still tell them they can do it, right? Why don't we show ourselves that same kind of belief? We can do it. We have to show them. We can tell them all we want that they can do it, but you know what? Until we show them that we can push through failure too, we're not modeling it, so they're still not going to get it quite the same. So thank you everyone for jumping on with me tonight. Thanks for another Woke Wednesday. I will see you next Wednesday. And until then, dream bigger and live bigger. Bye, guys. Oh, I didn't say Sylvia. Sylvia, I don't know if you can hear me.